Things soon turned in favour for Alexander's men. Their experience and the weight of their attack began to tell, added to the advantage of the long cornel wood spear over the light lances of the Persians. During the fight, Alexander's spear was broken. He called on Arates, one of his grooms, for another, but Arates himself, in difficulties for the same reason, though still fighting gallantly enough with the remaining half of his weapon. Showing it to Alexander, he called out to him to ask someone else, and Demaratus the Corinthian, one of Alexander's personal bodyguard, gave him his spear. The fresh weapon in his hand, he caught sight of Mithridates, Darius' son-in-law, riding with a squadron of horse in the wedge formation far ahead of the main body. Instantly, he galloped out in front of his men, struck Mithridates in the face with his spear, and hurled him to the ground. Rosicles then rode at Alexander with his scimitar, and aiming a blow at his head, sliced off part of his helmet, which nevertheless dulled the force of the impact. A moment later, Alexander was soon on him, and he fell with a spear thrust through his cuirass into his breast. Now Mithridates had his scimitar raised, ready for a blow at Alexander, when from behind, but Clytus, son of Dropides, was too quick for him, and severed his shoulder, scimitar and all. Meanwhile, Alexander's party was being steadily reinforced by the mounted troops, as one after another they succeeded in getting up out of the river and joining him. The Persians were now in a bad way. There was no escape for horse or rider from the thrust of the Macedonian spears. They were being forced back from their position, and in addition to the weight of the main attack, they were suffering considerable damage from the lightly armed troops who had forced their way in among the cavalry. They began to break just at the point where Alexander in person was bearing the brunt of things.